Welcome in, Loons fans, to another edition of the Matchday preview. Jonathan Harrison here, joined by co-host Manny Lagos. Manny, we've got a win to talk about. We've got plenty of good vibes to discuss. How are we doing today?
Doing well. Yeah, I mean, it's always, again, a little weird when you're quickly going to the international break after a game. But what a great game. It's been a good week of training up here as well. So I think there's a lot of good vibes coming off the win.
Yeah, especially after just coming off two games that happened after a lengthy delay, and then you've got another 2 week break. A little bit of stop start to this end stretch of the season, but the Loons will trudge forward and look forward to making a run at that playoff spots. Got plenty to discuss here on the match day preview, plenty across Major League Soccer from this last weekend to discuss, some other notes across European soccer, recapping the San Jose match, and then looking ahead to 6 games or so across Major League Soccer this coming weekend. But let's jump right into the weekend that was in Major League Soccer. Columbus get a 4-2 win over New York City FC. Cincinnati, a 4-1 win over Montreal. But Miami get a 4-1 win over Chicago. Is it a little too late for any of those Eastern Conference contenders to take the swipe of the title in the Eastern Conference from Inter Miami?
I mean, certainly with them winning the way they are without Messi, it feels like it doesn't. I think more of the shift of the discussion is talking about can they, get the points record and how are they going to finish the season. So having said that, though, you mentioned the Columbus Crew, and they clearly, to me, are playing the best soccer. They just won another trophy. They found a way to win after being down in a game, and in a weird way, felt comfortable for them because they're playing 90 minutes of soccer better than any team in the league right now.
Yeah, they are certainly some of the best soccer to watch and some of the most fun soccer to watch. Other notes across the weekend: Colorado stay hot, get a 3-2 win over Dallas. That helped out the Loons in that race for the final spot in the playoffs. Dallas among the 3 teams competing for that final spot. Kansas City, St. Louis are still able to get it, but they're kind of a ways off at this point. But there's 3 teams within 3 points of each other: Minnesota, Austin, Dallas, at the bottom of that battle in the playoffs. And that Colorado 3-2 win helped Minnesota out. The surprise result, though, I think for me, Houston, a surprise win over LAFC, 2-0 over Los Angeles. That's, I think, one of the more surprising results of the weekend, Manny.
Yeah, I think we kind of talked about on the show. I thought LAFC didn't look as sharp as I anticipated to me in that Leagues Cup final against Columbus. I thought it wasn't just the score was close, but I thought just the tempo and the kind of ball possession favored Columbus in a way I did not predict. And it seems like that's carry over into a little bit of probably lacking confidence going back home and usually where they're dominant. So great result for Houston. Obviously it doesn't help us in Minnesota, but
Yeah.
credit to them to go to a tough place and get a result. And I think the other one on here, I think Chicago is another kind of Groundhog Day storyline this time of year where one of the bigger franchises, bigger cities, bigger markets, lots of money going into that system, and they still haven't figured out a way to be competitive in a league that has parity and gives you an opportunity to make the playoffs is probably another, unfortunately, kind of big story for them of the season. And I think it's going to shift to them upping the intensity level of really finding a long-term coach for that organization. My prediction is that they're going to go pretty hard now to look for a high-level coach of some type, and maybe even front office staff to see if they can get this turned around.
Well, yeah, they made some switches in their front office staff over the summer transfer window, and they didn't really make any big moves in. I don't think they made any moves in during that transfer window. So they've got a lot. The only big move was Xherdan Shaqiri going out, which I think leaves them with 3 or 2 open DP spots, which coming up in this winter, that'll be an organization surely to watch as they look to overhaul and get things finally righted in Chicago, where, as you say, a historic franchise in this league, a club that has done plenty of good things in their past. It's just been a while since that's happened, and they've got all the opportunity in the world. They've got a great market to try and capitalize on, and it just hasn't come together for them lately.
They are, and they're building, I think, what is going to be one of the nicest training facilities, particularly location right in the middle of Chicago.
Yeah.
Uh, their ownership acquired some land, which is a great spot to have a central location, which is very rare in our league. Almost every team in MLS training facility is outside of the urban core. So I think there's some good years ahead of Chicago, but right now it does definitely that home game trying to compete against one of the better teams in the league. I think they were pretty down about that result. I think the other big news in the league is Carlos Bocanegra's exit from Atlanta.
Hmm.
Certainly, there's he was part of that era of Darren Eales and Tata Martino and him winning a championship, and they came to the league in that second year, and it was our second year as well. And we had a great Open Cup final against them that we ended up on the wrong side of, but. Since then it's been a tough time for Atlanta to come back to that height that they started in the league. So that's some big news and a big shift, and that'll mean some new faces in Atlanta for sure here in the next couple of months.
Yeah, there's been a lot of shifting in Atlanta this season. It's been interesting to watch what's been happening there. But yeah, as you said, they haven't reached the heights that they reached early on in their MLS run, and they've been looking and kind of trying different things to get back there, and it just hasn't worked out. We'll see what happens with them. The other game that I want to bring up, St. Louis 2, LA Galaxy 1. That's notable because Minnesota next play St. Louis in St. Louis. I don't think we expected this one. I think we all actually picked LA Galaxy to get the win here, but it means LAFC don't lose any ground after their loss towards their race to the top of the Western Conference. Still 5 points behind LA Galaxy at the top, now even on points with Real Salt Lake for second and third place in the West. I think this one also was a surprising result because how St. Louis had been playing lately, where they are in the standings and where LA Galaxy are in the standings, and what we expect of them over the final 8 games of this season. I don't think we expected LA Galaxy to go into St. Louis and lose, but St. Louis show that they're not a team just to look past and throw away this season.
Yeah, John, my brain is got distracted because you're gonna have to either check the score predictions or the video, but I think I had LA Galaxy in our predictions dropping points
Okay.
in this game. So I just think St. Louis had a little bit like when we went to San Jose, had a little bit of momentum and kind of some wins. So I think Galaxy, is really been a good team, and they've definitely turned things around this year. I don't think they're dominant in a way that I think teams are afraid to play them, especially at home. I think they're just a little bit inconsistent still defensively. So for me, it's a great result for St. Louis. It reminds us that we're going to have a great battle and challenge going to a great environment, new environment, but historically one of the more exciting kind of soccer history cities in this country, where we, need a win. We need to find some points. So it'll be exciting to play against a team that, has developed a little bit of confidence here late in the season.
Minnesota handed St. Louis their first home loss in MLS last season, looking to do something similar and hand them a home loss again coming up in 2 weeks' time. Manny, let's jump into the Minnesota San Jose game, a 2-1 win for the Loons, unless you have anything else you want to touch on from the week that was in Major League Soccer or European soccer. I almost forgot that we were going to touch on those. Erling Haaland, another hat trick, 7 goals in 3 games now. Crazy run for him to start the season. Everton come back 3-2, scoring 3 goals in the final, 10 minutes of that match, down 2-0, and Bournemouth get a 3-2 win and come back from 2-0 down and score 3 goals in the final 10 minutes. Incredible comeback that you had to see to believe.
Yeah, no, I think you brought up two storylines. I think probably the Leverkusen losing in Bundesliga is another one of my probably
Yeah.
top 3. I would start with the Holland one. It's unbelievable. I mean, I saw a stat where he's already got 8 hat tricks in the Premier League in like 80 games, and
That's
then
ridiculous.
after that, most guys having played between 250 and 300 games have somewhere between 8 and 12, and I think 12 is the max total ever. And already in like 80 or 90 games, he already has 8 hat tricks. It's just you can't. And he seems sharper and hungrier this year than last year, and he seems fitter already. Ironically, he did not play in the Euros, so that might have something to do as well, seeming fresher, but just ruthless player, ruthless abilities, and you put him on the best team in Europe right now, and it really is it's just amazing. It's amazing to watch and to see. So I think the Everton one, if you haven't gone and watched the highlights, I would recommend you do. This sport is amazing. It is any given day where you think, oh, 2-0 is a great lead and we got a home win finally, and like we're off and running and we're gonna make it a shutout. And just even one little moment of lapsing can lead to historic loss like that. And I think Everton's confidence right now going into the season already has been tough and shattered. They've got a huge hole now to build that team's confidence and start getting some points in the league. And lastly, the Leverkusen. It really is hard to put into words that run that they were on. I mean, you talk about our league, we go crazy at 6 or 7 unbeaten streaks because of how much parity we have in our league. But to do that in the Bundesliga and not be the number one team like Bayern Munich, that kind of should be the team doing that,
Yeah.
is truly, truly amazing.
Yeah, because when you think of unbeatables and you think of undefeated seasons, Arsenal, they were one of the best teams in the Premier League when they did it. Juventus, they were one of the better teams in Serie A when they did it. It's always those top teams in the leagues that are the ones who are going to do it, not a team like Bayer Leverkusen who are kind of in that range where they're fighting and scrapping for European spots, never really battling for titles, and then they go on this incredible historic run that is something that will be remembered for a very, very long time over there in Germany. And it was incredible to see. Unfortunately, it had to came to an end in a 3-2 loss to RB Leipzig this weekend. We'll see what they can do and bounce back and hop back in the win column. Just because the Loons are away doesn't mean you have to watch the match from home. With Loons Watch Spots presented by Coors Light, you can find a piece of that Allianz Field atmosphere at some of your favorite Twin Cities locations. Check out the full list of locations and upcoming watch parties at MNUFC.com/Loons Watch Spots. Now we'll jump back into the recap for San Jose. 2-1 win for the Loons. Bangkok Longwane gets inserted into the starting lineup and immediately pays off with goals in the 9th and 64th minute. This one, it's hard to figure out how to describe this one. It seemed like there was moments where the Loons did a good job of controlling the game and had moments where it seemed like they were pretty dang effective in attacking San Jose, but just couldn't fully take over the match and allowed those opportunities for San Jose to get back in and stay and keep this game close.
Yeah, I thought it was a great performance by the team, and obviously the adversity of the game was really fascinating. That I thought it was our first 20 minutes was some of the best soccer we've played all year, particularly the last 3 months. We've sometimes have started a little bit slow and had to fight our way back into games. This one had a little bit of a different momentum to it, where I just thought we had an outstanding first half. The first 20 minutes just dominant. I mean, the pressing, the winning the ball in good spots, creating chances, keeping it we need to. I think about the Robin Lode chance before Bongi scored. I think about just the winning the 50-50 balls, the duels, the things that maybe we lacked in Seattle early. Really set us up for I thought, dealing with the adversity of when San Jose got back into the game and scored a goal against the momentum. But we dealt with it. We took a deep breath, went to halftime, went back out, and I really don't think they had a lot of chances in the second half. We didn't have the same quite dominant possession performance, but we were, really workmanlike in the second half. And like I said, I really go back to the excitement the guys should have of playing that first 20 minutes the way they did is some of our best soccer. And it was really fun to see the group just, put an energy and effort, finishing. And like you said, Bongi, Asani, Robin, a lot of guys stepped on the field that night and had some great performances.
Yeah, you mentioned Sani. I think this was one of his best games in a Loons uniform. He was all over the place, covering ground, was excellent on the ball. He was ruthless in what he did in that in that 3-man midfield with Will Trapp and Robin Lode. And I know we mentioned him last week and him having a good game, but I think this stepped it up even another level for Asani this week.
Yeah, I just again he is from the get go to win the duels. Him and Will and Robin really set the tone for our wingbacks to get high and press high and be confident to really make it hard for San Jose to do anything for those first 15 minutes. Like again, they had so much trouble breaking our press, getting out, and then we won the ball. We were ruthless. We kept in the right spots. We finished plays off in a way where it didn't allow counterattacks. And we had an early goal that was coming because before that, we had great chances, and that was just the ninth
Yeah.
minute. And then we scored, and we kept on the front foot for another 10 or 15 minutes. I really enjoyed that. So, again, it was a really ruthless first half, I thought, on our end, and just a goal against the run of play where a clever header and a clever finish put some adversity, and it made us have to take a deep breath at halftime. And I think that's part of this sport. It's a tough league, and
Yeah.
teams, particularly when you're playing away, in general, you're not going to be able to dominate 90 minutes of pressing and winning balls in good spots. And you're going to have to defend. You're going to have to figure out ways to limit chances. And I just thought we responded to even giving up a tough goal against the run of play really well, and making sure that we walked off the field with 3 points, which was by far the most important thing, was to make sure we are still in our playoff run of pushing this. And I think it was so important mentally going into the international break as well.
What did you think of the pairing of Bangkok Longwane and Kelvin Yeboah up top? Yeboah not getting on the score sheet this time in his second game with the Loons, but Bangkok Longwane getting on the score sheet, having a couple chances, showing the form that we saw last season from Bongi in this game, just all over the place, being a dynamic threat, being a dangerous threat, had a ton of chances created because of the presence, I would imagine, of Kelvin Yeboah up top.
Yeah, I think you're spot on in terms of, I thought Calvin did a great job of really making him run in between the two center backs, pulling them
Yeah.
wide, getting them outside the channel. And it really allowed the two of them to have some really good moments, and creating some great triangles with Robin Lode, and in a way that, it allowed Bongi to use his energy and effort, which he's so good at, to just run and run into good spots and find the ball in good spots. And so a couple times Calvin got the ball in behind, which really let San Jose know that, this is going to be a game where you get to relax. Like the center backs from the start for San Jose were under it. And again, Calvin's movement was really, really good in that first half. He had some really good moments where probably doesn't go on the stat sheet or the score sheet, but if you watch that game with tactical sense, his movement and playing off the shoulder and into the channel was really, really impressive.
Yeah, he was all over the place, and as you said, those runs between the center back, we noticed that in Seattle, in that game, and it helped him towards a goal, and it was fun to watch and to see that he kept that going into the second game. It wasn't just a one hit wonder. It was something that he aims to do every single game. That is really fun to see because you want to see that from your striker, and it creates a number of opportunities for other attackers on the outside as well. Will Trapp had so much time in the midfield. That three-man midfield really seems to be paying off for Minnesota and really seems to help them control matches where we didn't see that earlier on this season.
Yeah, I thought Will had a veteran, smart, kept the ball in the good spots, got in the areas of the field to make sure we kept the ball moving and we kept the tempo at our pace, not at San Jose's. And, again, he and Asani and Robin, I thought did a really good job of winning a lot of 50-50 balls and making sure that San Jose could never really get a hold of the game from a tempo standpoint. And, again, I think Will's been around a long time, and he's a great leader, and he kind of understands when the team's playing well, we got to make sure we keep it up that way. And he did a great job. Like I said, that three-man midfield, they all have different skill sets. And I think that hits opposing teams hard because they're all kind of different types of players. Robin tends to break lines with passing. Asani tends to battle and win duels and break lines through kind of power dribbling forward. And Will is your technical guy that really, make sure that we keep the ball and make good decisions and make sure guys are there. And obviously, when Will plugs holes and wins defensive duels, we are really good with that center midfield and against anybody in the league, frankly.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kind of jump into these goals for Minnesota United. I know the second one was a little sloppy. That was I think we like to call those hockey goals, dirty hockey goals, where it's just a mess in the box and the ball just ends up getting poked through. We'll get to that one in a second, but I want to talk about that first one. Robin Lode making an excellent run that kind of draws in the San Jose defender, allowing Bangkok Longwane to make that run into space. And Bongi just coolly takes it. and slides it past the goalkeeper, underneath the goalkeeper into the back of the net. And that was an early mark, as we've talked about. The Loons coming out and dominating the first 20 minutes, and that goal in the 9th minute was reward for what they had done early on in this match. And Robin Lod's run to free up the space for Bongi, I think, absolutely opened up that chance and created that chance for Bangkok Langwane to take.
Yeah, it really was. Like I said, we created a couple of chances before that with some great triangle passing, and really quality tempo, quality technical uh, ability by the guys to really not just do it deeper in the field, but up in the final third where, hey, if you make good movement, passing, triangles, you're going to create good chances. And ultimately, like I said, that was after, I think we had two or three of those kind of passing moments that didn't quite lead to goals. The best one was Robbins, where I would have bet my house he would have finished that, on his left foot, about 13 yards out, where he can curl into that far post. The goal looked huge and just unfortunately didn't quite execute. But I think what I liked, it was kind of a warning to San Jose that we're going to keep doing that. And on the goal, just the timing of the runs to stay on side, the movement of the ball, just quality play.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we've also talked about how the dominance kind of, I guess, for lack of a better term, fell off a little bit. San Jose started getting a foothold in the match. What changed after about that 20-minute mark that allowed San Jose to get back into the match, that allowed them to eventually score a goal off of Buddha, who kind of capitalizes on a bad header from the Loons defense and equalizes in the 33rd minute. But what changed for San Jose and for Minnesota that allowed the Earthquakes back into the match and allowed them a bit of a lifeline there early
Yeah,
on in the first
I
half?
just think when you're playing a 90-minute game, particularly away, it's really hard to say, well, we're going to keep the ball for 90 minutes. San
Yeah.
Jose eventually adjusted. They got their wingbacks higher. They started to switch the ball, which, again, we were playing a 3-5-2. The space for San Jose was a little bit high and wide. And I think they did a good job of probably getting their wingbacks higher now, where we had to shift a couple times that allowed them to maybe have a little more possession. At the end of the day, though, I didn't think a lot of their possession in that first half led to chances. I think it just led to them having more possession. So unfortunately, that means that the ball will be in our defensive third a little bit. And I thought the goal was incredibly lucky in that it was a play where a deflection created a 50-50 battle with Boxall. And I thought it was a really clever header where they had a little bit numbers higher. And again, I don't overthink it, because that kind of stuff happens every once in a while, and you're playing against good players and good teams. This is a high level league. And it was just an unfortunate deflection that allowed that kind of 50-50 chance, and a credit to them for the header. I thought it was a really clever header that put the ball in a great spot for a kid to go and finish it. So, credit for San Jose to get back in the game. But like I said, I didn't see a lot of chances after that throughout the game by San Jose. So it's you want it to be an easy game, but soccer is not easy, and it's going to put some adversity in you no matter what, particularly when you're on the road.
Well, to go back to your point, I believe that goal from Buddha was their first shot on target in the match. So it kind of just goes to prove your point that they certainly found a footing in the match, but weren't able to kind of make those pay off. And they ended the match with just 2 shots on goal over the entire 90 minutes. I believe 5 shots total compared to Minnesota's 14 in the match. And yeah, San Jose certainly had their chances, but the Loons defense and midfield did a good job of limiting their chances at attacking the net, and Dane St. Clair did a good job of keeping any of the other shots away. Second half rolls around, Minnesota come out, eventually make a substitution. We see Tani Loache come on, and a little bit of a tactical switch from Minnesota United. Go with the 4-3-3. We get to see the trio of Calvin Yaboa, Tani Loache, and Bangkok Langwane on the field at once. I liked this, and immediately it paid off with a goal from Bangkok Langwane off a set piece there. And it was a little bit of a sloppy goal, but I liked the idea and what the attacking could look like in a 4-3-3. The game opened up a little bit. There was some chances that San Jose certainly had, but overall, 4-3-3 seems like an enticing option, especially with those 3 attackers on the field for Minnesota.
Yeah, I think one of the things we talked about is the ability to kind of get players on the roster that are ready to play different systems in different moments, even within one half, and it allows Eric and the coaching staff to tactically make subs, not only just to have a player make a difference, but maybe have a system make a difference. And certainly, I think the subs ended up creating some good chances, and I still think you create your own luck. And that corner kick, was an example of I thought our service was outstanding all game. I thought in the first half we created so many corners, and I don't think people realize how much stress and pressure mentally that is on a defense when you keep on whipping in great corners, you keep on getting second balls, and you whip another corner in. That takes a lot of energy out of the entire
Yeah.
defensive team of San Jose, particularly their center backs. And so, although the goal was kind of scrappy, I think it was deserved based on kind of the amount of set pieces we were creating, the amount of set piece service in dangerous areas, and the commitment of our guys to really get into good spots. And so, it's funny. Bongi was in a spot because I think he was in a spot all game to find the ball. Found him a lot because he was hungry to find the ball. And to me, it would look like kind of one of those kind of like scrum goals, but I think we really created that. And then I think what you mentioned afterwards, we did one more tactical sub that really I thought locked the game down. Ultimately, putting in DJ and Devin, I think really helped solidify any chance of San Jose creating any chances late in the game. They might have had one or two that we were a little bit nervous on, but again, an away game, that they're going to try to throw numbers forward and try to get an equalizer.
Yeah, Loons going back to essentially that 5-3-2 that we saw for much of the match, with the substitutions of DJ Taylor and Devin Padelford locking down the game. San Jose nearly had a chance from an injured center back who was just sitting up high late in that match, but the Loons see out the 2-1 win, complete
Hey,
the season
Jonathan,
sweep.
you saw that, but that was an amazing moment. And I
Oh yeah,
still think it's a great debatable one. I know he had the chance, and I actually played with Ian Russell, so it was a huge call by him. Do I play with 10 men, or do I keep this guy and put him up top and see if that can happen? And it almost paid off. So, and I still think it's debatable whether is it better to have an injured player on the field, or is it better to say, we're with 10 men, we'll figure out how to create a chance with 10 instead of 11, almost like a red card. So I actually was probably wrong because it ended up being a great chance. But I also think it might have hurt them to try to get some momentum to attack in waves based on his, kind of just up there, kind of limping around for most of the last 10 minutes.
yeah, you could see, especially in those last 10 minutes, as you said, that when the ball did get shuffled back into attack for Minnesota and San Jose got the ball back and was trying to get it upfield, you could see him still trying to get back on side because it was a struggle for him to move. But yeah, an amazing chance for him at the end that he just couldn't pull off. But yeah, as you said, big call for Ian Russell there.
It
Not
really
really.
was. Yeah, it was. And
It's
I
kind of a
think
rock and a hard place. You either go
it
down a
is.
man
And
or yeah,
yeah, I think this is a reality of talking about the game and tactics. We just talked about a couple moves that Eric made, and obviously Seattle, we got caught without substitutions late when we got down, and those are big decisions. And again, I don't think people realize how many big decisions coaches have to make in terms of they only get 3 windows of sub plus halftime, and you do have 5 subs now instead of 3, so you have some more flexibility. But there is definitely a chess match about when and how you use your subs and when you want to go for it. And ultimately, San Jose got caught with an injury and not having a sub, and that turned out to our advantage. I think that helped us navigate those last 10 minutes a little bit easier as opposed to if we were on the road and had to navigate it with them at a full 11.
how much would have you liked to have 5 subs when you were coaching?
It would have been just my brain would have been a little bit different about it, but I like it in the end. I think it's
Yeah.
added a lot of intrigue. I think it's given, I think, the kind of average fan a reality that subs do change games. It allows coaches to be tactical. I think from a fan standpoint, it has made things a little bit more exciting. It gives more players an opportunity to play on the day, and I think it does give more coaches an opportunity to level the playing field and really, change the game through subs.
Do you think we should have more, or is 5 a good solid number?
Good question. I think people smarter than me could probably look at the data analytics and see where that is and see where the trend goes. I'm intrigued both ways. I like the limits, but then I might be old school and fuddy duddy. Maybe we should allow more, maybe because it does create a lot of tactical excitement for the fans, and certainly it potentially could kind of really switch things up late in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. It will reward certainly deeper squads and taking more chances certainly on later in matches. And I think that would provide some exciting soccer late in matches, which already has a number of exciting moments, as we talked about Bournemouth's late comeback win. Final thoughts on this one, a Loons 2-1 win. get back into the playoff spots after a couple results go their way. Austin losing to Vancouver, Dallas losing to Colorado, and Minnesota getting the win sees Minnesota jump back into the playoff spots, somewhere that they hopefully stick to for the rest of the season. Looking forward to that. Manny, your final thoughts on a 2-1 win for the Loons?
I just thought it was a really good performance. I think we'd been starting slow for the last couple months and even in our Leagues Cup. And I just think it is exciting because we have a huge challenge now going away to St. Louis. And every game now is like a playoff game for us. So to have that mentality and have that kind of output, I think is exciting. We have a break here now where, I think Eric can work with some of the guys who are not on international duty, also get a little bit of rest this weekend and then hopefully have a great week of training preparing for St. Louis.
Yeah, so you mentioned international duty, and that's where we're going next. 10 Loons between the first team, MNUFC 2 and Academy, called up to their international squad. Loons continue to be a presence on the international scene. Michael Boxall for New Zealand, I believe, and he'll play against the U.S. coming up here next week, I believe. The U.S. have a couple games against Canada and New Zealand. What are our expectations from the U.S.? No full-time manager in yet, though reports are that Mauricio Pochettino will take over eventually at some point here. But interim management for the U.S., what are you expecting in games against Canada and New Zealand coming up this week?
Well, I think it's a rematch of the Olympics for the New Zealand USA, which is
Yeah.
probably New Zealand will be pretty hungry to kind of fight and battle, but I would expect us to do pretty well in that game. And I think we've got some new call ups. So anytime you're a U.S. soccer fan, and obviously there's some rumors that Pochettino's really close to being done with the contract, but he's not there yet. So it is going to be an interim manager. It is going to be kind of kind of one of these. I don't want to say it's a dead zone, but like in terms of we won't have our full list of national team roster guys that is our A team, quote unquote. But certainly, the Michael Boxall connection, New Zealand is awesome, and then the Canada U.S. rivalry, particularly with Jesse Marsh, particularly with them getting out of the group stage of the CONMEBOL and us not. I think is going to create a really fun rivalry of games leading into this World Cup where we're co-hosting with them in Mexico. So it's exciting. I think that one. I think just 10 guys, what an honor. How cool that we have 10 players representing their country. There's got to be so much pride. Certainly, our Finnish connection guys going to Wembley will be a special moment for them. Excited to see how they do in that one. So as much as you lament, not having a game this weekend and having our guys go away, it really is cool. And what a great honor for the club and a great honor for them individually. It's such a cool thing to have these players represent their countries. And I know they take such honor and pride in it. It's really is an accomplishment for them.
Yeah, and we mentioned it's not just the first team that are getting call-ups, it's the academy players as well. Excuse me if I'm mispronouncing his name or mispronouncing his name. Tamer Ibsius getting called up for the Palestine youth team to take on, I believe, Saudi Arabia and Macau. Awesome moment for the kid.
Super cool. I mean, again, it's just a nice reminder of how big this sport is and how diverse our first team roster is, but how diverse our entire academy again, because this community is very diverse. And, we've got so many unique, cool individuals, personal stories in the youth level, on our second team level, and obviously with the first team. So great. I'm so excited for them. It'll be a great experience.
Yeah. Elsewhere, what international games are you looking forward to seeing outside of obviously the U.S. playing this coming
You got to
week?
give me who else do we have that you think I would be intrigued by, Jonathan, here?
Well, you mentioned Finland
Yeah,
going to England. That
for
should be
sure.
exciting.
That at Wembley, like again, we obviously have two great Finnish players on our team, and every time they play in some of these big European games, I'm always intrigued. So yeah, there's no doubt that's one of my number one or in the top following is our guys playing at Wembley is a dream for any professional soccer player.
You're not interested in San Marino versus Liechtenstein, two teams that haven't won in, I think, one of them in 20 matches, another one in 4 years. So someone's got to win, I would
I
imagine.
love watching a
Otherwise,
lot of
it's going to be a
soccer.
draw.
I probably won't watch that one, but now you planted the seed in my head, and I'll probably end up watching part of that game somehow. So
Just have to watch to see if someone
yeah,
finally finds a way to win out of either of those teams. Plenty in UEFA Nations League, Portugal versus Croatia. This
that's
is
a good
just
one.
today.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Speaking Denmark, Switzerland, that one should be exciting. Serbia, Spain, looking towards World Cup qualification in CONMEBOL. Argentina taking on Chile. That should be exciting as well. Those are just matches today. We got plenty of international games coming up. France, Italy tomorrow. I can't wait for that one. That one's going to be
Yeah.
exciting.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're right. No, I think the CONMEBOL games, those are World Cup qualifiers, so those will be battles, and those games are tough. Do you know where is the Argentina Chile one? Do you know?
I believe Argentina is hosting that one.
Okay.
Yeah, Argentina's hosting it.
Yeah, I mean they're on such a great run, and their fan base is really supportive. I can't see them dropping to Chile at home, but those games are wild. There's no doubt, and obviously, they're coming off an amazing South American Championship. So I think they'll be well received. This will be their first game since that tournament. So those are
Yep.
kind of cool images to watch that stadium just go crazy for the team and really honor their accomplishment this summer.
More in CONMEBOL qualification. Uruguay, Paraguay taking on each other. Brazil, Ecuador, Peru, Colombia tomorrow. So an exciting slate of games. Obviously, and more, much more to come over the following week. Let's jump into MLS action. Still games to go this coming weekend across Major League Soccer. Which ones are we looking forward to? We've got plenty to discuss here. I think the one that we'll all be keeping our eye on, New England taking on St. Louis. New England, I believe, getting a big win this last weekend, taking on a St. Louis side that the Loons will be taking on in 2 weeks' time.
I'm I feel like New England lost.
Yeah, I think they did. I'm mixing up their weeks. They won
Yeah.
the previous
They had
week.
the big 5-1 win against Montreal, and then,
I'm just gonna make
not
the
for you to
excuse
check,
that it's early.
but I think I predicted the loss when we did our predictions.
Yeah,
So
they
I
lost
gotta,
to Real Salt Lake. I'm mixing up weeks. I'm just gonna
yeah,
blame the fact that we're recording at an earlier time that I'm mixing
that's
up my
fine.
weeks.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. So yeah, it'll be a good game, no doubt about it. I think it, it's to me this will be one that probably a draw is the way it'll end up, is my gut. So
Yeah.
I think England's going to have a little bit better performance than RSL, and I do think St. Louis will have some confidence though. Again, this is their how they do and how we follow this game will be important in terms of where their mentality is coming to when we play them in the following week.
Yeah, St. Louis 9 points off a playoff spot in the West. New England 5 points off a playoff spot in the East. I think I'm going to go a New England win here. I just feel them at home. Caleb Porter seems to be maybe turning around that ship and getting them into contention after a rough start to begin the season. We'll see what they can do. Another game that will certainly have a lot of eyeballs on it. Columbus taking on Seattle in probably the game of the weekend, I would imagine. This one
Yeah,
in Columbus.
yeah, yeah. But I just see right now the juggernaut continuing. I just
Yeah.
don't see Seattle going into Columbus and getting the result. Again, we say week in, week out, but credit to Columbus right now. They are pushing Miami for, looking like the best team in the league. And LAFC just dropped off with two straight losses, won the Leagues Cup final, and then they just, dropped a interesting game that you thought they would have won at home. So I think yeah, Columbus. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going Columbus as well. You mentioned that LAFC game. Well, they get a rematch just 7 days later, this time in Houston. Obviously, the unfortunate injury to an Ellie is going to keep him out of the lineup for the rest of the season. Hearts go out to him, and hopefully a quick recovery from him because he's been awesome for Houston this year. That'll certainly change how they play going forward this season. But Houston looking to get the double on LAFC coming up this weekend, just back-to-back games for those two sides.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough to sweep teams in this league no matter what. It really is. And it's
Yeah.
important if you want to go up. So I don't think I think I'm going to go with LAFC bouncing back with a performance that at least gets a draw, probably the win.
Yeah, I think I'm going with the win there for LAFC as well. We'll add a rare fourth game to our predictions because of the playoff meaning for it. How close Dallas is to Minnesota in that playoff spots. Vancouver hosting Dallas this weekend. Your thoughts? Vancouver will be without Ryan Gauld because he's been called up to the Scottish national team. So they'll be without one of their key playmakers. I'm sure a couple more as well. But who do we see in this one?
Yeah, I mean, he really is one of the keys of the team. So it'll be interesting to see how they play without him. Now, when we delve into like our West and teams close to us, I can't not go with what I want, which is I want Vancouver to win. So I've got Vancouver for sure
Yeah, I think I'm with you at this point of the season. You're kind of like when you're scoreboard watching, you're hoping for the results that certainly help out your team more. And I think I'm hoping for a Vancouver win, though, with the guys that they're missing. It makes it a little bit tough for Vancouver, but we've seen them be pretty resilient this year, 5-4-2 at home this season. Dallas just 1-8-4 on the road. So I'm thinking that despite missing some of their key players, Vancouver will pull this one off and get the win over Dallas. And that'll be certainly helpful for Minnesota. It'll be an exciting game coming up in 2 weeks' time for Minnesota at St. Louis. We'll be back next week to preview that one, preview another busy weekend of Major League Soccer action. Manny, good stuff from you today, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, John, likewise. Cheers.
Loons fans, thanks for tuning in, and thanks to the production staff of Grace Dearson, Kyle Hayward, and Evan Entler for putting this on every week. We'll talk to you next week, Loons fans.